Hello, cosmic travelers, and welcome to the sacred space. Before we dive into profound depths of what shadow work is, I want to offer a loving but honest caution. Shadow work is not light work. It's sacred, yes, but it's also intense, raw, and sometimes destabilizing. This process can stir up long burdened memories, emotions, and inner wounds. It may unearth grief, shame, anger, abandonment, or fear. If you have a history of depression, thoughts of self-harm, or deep emotional trauma, please know this work should never be done alone. Seek the care of a licensed therapist, preferably someone trained in trauma, somatic healing, or inner child work. Make sure that you check their background, that they have a long history in working with clients and dealing with trauma before beginning this journey. Having a safe container for this exploration is not just helpful, it is essential. You deserve to feel supported and held as you navigate these inner portals. That being said, if you feel called to this work, you may already be what we call a mirror. A mirror is someone whose very presence reflects back to others the truth that they are not yet ready to face in themselves. Mirror souls often feel deeply, sense energy intuitively, and notice patterns others overlook. They are not afraid of darkness because they've lived in it and have survived. If you've always had a sense that you are here to transmute pain, to break patterns, or to remember what others have forgotten, this path may be your soul's ancient agreement. But know this, mirrors must first witness themselves before they can reflect healing to others. That's where shadow work begins. This episode is for the ones who are ready to look inward, not to fix themselves, but to reclaim themselves. So let's begin. To me, a spiritual shadow worker is someone who courageously walks into the hidden, unhealed, and often uncomfortable parts of themselves, not to judge, but to witness, integrate, and transmute. They recognize that pain, shame, fear, abandonment, and anger are not enemies, but messengers, fragments of the soul calling to be reclaimed. A shadow worker sees life's patterns and emotional triggers not as random, but as a sacred clue pointing to buried timelines, inner child wounds, ancestral echoes, and karmic imprints. Through self-inquiry, ritual, deep embodiment, and emotional honesty, they become alchemists, turning wounds into wisdom, pain into power, and fear into embodied truth. They don't bypass discomfort, they hold space for it. They don't seek perfection, they seek authenticity. And in doing so, they help others see that healing isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. So where does shadow work originate? While the term shadow work was popularized by Carl Jung in the early 20th century, the practice of working with hidden, internal aspects of the self goes back much further, rooted in ancient spiritual systems that understood the human soul as a complex, layered being. One of the earliest and most profound systems was the Sepik Ba-Ra, the original tree of life from ancient Kemet. It was created as a map of the human soul, teaching initiates about the different energetic centers and archetypal forces that lived within them. This tree mirrored the energy system we now call the chakras, but it framed each energy center as a divine aspect of creation, woven into the cosmic fabric of existence. The ancient Kemetic priests and priestess used the stories of the gods and goddesses, the Nichiru, to illustrate how each energy center would express its light and its shadow. Pa, creation through thought; Sekhmet, power and righteous anger; Ma'at, truth, balance, justice, and so many more. Each archetype was a guide for understanding how energy moves within us and how imbalances could lead to suffering, disease, or disconnect from truth. It was never just mythology. It was a blueprint for inner work and energetic healing. The ancient Egyptians also deeply emphasized the importance of balancing the scales of Ma'at, a process where the soul was metaphorically weighed against a feather at death. But in reality, this was a daily living practice. In this sense, shadow work is the ancient practice of energetic balancing, soul refinement, and conscious evolution, long before it was given a philosophical label. Across cultures, this sacred process also appeared in shamanic soul retrievals, reclaiming lost parts of the soul, Buddhist ego dissolution, mystical Gnostic inner alchemy. Each tradition understood the same truth. Healing is not about perfection. It's about remembering, reclaiming, and returning to wholeness. So while today we call it shadow work, throughout time it has been known as inner alchemy, soul retrieval, dark night of the soul, ego death, emotional or spiritual purification, the descent journey, heart weighing or balancing restoration, purification rites. Each of these reflects the same sacred truth. Healing requires courage to face what has been hidden, not to destroy it, but to integrate it and transform it. Shadow work is often misunderstood. It's not about labeling yourself as broken, toxic, or wrong. It's about understanding that the parts of you thought were just your personality, the defensiveness, the silence, the people-pleasing, the self-sabotage, those were never really you. They were survival. They were sacred, instinctual adaptations to abandonment, betrayal, neglect, all woven into your nervous system before you had the awareness or even the power to choose differently. The guarded parts of you, the submissive parts of you, the parts that clung to unsafe people because familiarity felt safer than the unknown. The parts that pushed away real care because kindness felt foreign. These were not failures. They were sacred responses. When we talk about shadow work, we are talking about the most courageous journey, traveling back into the hidden timelines within your being, the portals where you first learned you had to earn love, that you were safer when invisible, that you were an afterthought, not a priority, and the list goes on and on and on. And now shadow work asks you, can you choose yourself again? Can you forgive the younger versions of you? The ones who only knew what they were shown, the ones that thought that they had to betray their own hearts just to belong. Healing isn't just about moving forward. It's about moving inward. It's about moving backward in time, spiritually, emotionally, gathering the abandoned pieces of yourself and bringing them home. Reparenting the child within, holding them close, whispering to the hidden self, you were never too much, you were never too needy, you were never unworthy, you were never a burden, you were never replaceable, you were never unlovable, you were always whole. Shadow work isn't about shaming yourself for what you should have done. It's about becoming aware that every reaction, every adaptation was a sacred act of survival. This work, this excavation of the unseen, is not easy. It is often extremely painful. It will stretch you. It will confront the walls that you've built around your heart. Because it is the highest form of love. Because when you choose to heal, you don't just free yourself, you free your inner child, your children, you free your lineage. You change the frequency of your entire existence and you heal backward and forward across time in different dimensions. You step into your true authenticity. Shadow work begins with compassion. Radical compassion for yourself. Here are some simple but profound steps. Start journaling. Write without judgment and ask yourself some questions like, where do I feel unseen or unheard? When did I first feel like I had to change who I was in order to be loved? What emotions feel unsafe for me to express? Practice self-awareness. Watch your triggers. A trigger is not a flaw, it's a map. It points you where healing is needed most. Create a safe space for feeling. Shadow work requires emotional safety for yourself, whether it's through meditation, breath work, or sacred rituals. Find a space where you can explore your feelings without judgment. Work with your inner child. Imagine sitting with your young self. What do they need to hear? How can you offer the love that they were once denied? Forgive yourself. Forgiveness doesn't mean excusing harmful behaviors from others. It means releasing yourself from carrying the poison of it. And most importantly, know when to reach out for support. A lot of times, shadow work opens up deep wounds. Trauma, grief, abandonment, betrayal. You do not have to walk this path alone. There is no shame in reaching out for help. It is a sign of strength, not weakness. If you find yourself feeling overwhelmed, reach out to a trusted therapist, preferably one trained in trauma and somatic healing. Seek a spiritual guide or mentor who honors both the emotional and energetic realities of healing, not just the love and light, and definitely not ones that fill darkness as sticky, icky. Connect with community healing spaces, support groups, or crisis lines if you need immediate emotional safety. You are not a burden for needing support. You are worthy of it. Shadow work is not punishment. It's a sacred rite of passage into self-mastery, into sovereignty, and into peace. You are not broken. You are sacred. You are rewriting timelines with every breath, with every realization, with every act of forgiveness you gift yourself. Honor the hidden portals within you. They are not evidence of your weakness. They are proof of your survival. And now they are proof of your return to wholeness. Thank you for walking this path, for choosing yourself, for daring to return home to who you truly are. You are the healing. You are the light and the darkness. You are the sacred rebirth your ancestors and your future self prayed for. Until next time, cosmic travelers, take care.